The Shilzari were old, older than galaxies, some whispered, though such pronouncements were mere hyperbole, even for beings of pure, scintillating energy. They existed as complex waveforms, consciousnesses woven from the universe's fundamental forces, their perception of time a slow, languid river compared to the frantic torrent experienced by solid, matter-based life. Humanity, to the Shilzari, was one such species. Fleeting sparks of organized matter, busy and brief, their lives like the fizz of a bubble on the cosmic ocean. The Shilzari observed them with a detached curiosity, much like a timeless entity might observe mayflies, interesting in their frantic energy, their obsession with physical objects, their comically short existences, but ultimately inconsequential. The human long-range exploration vessel Odyssey was a testament to that frantic energy. A silver needle ship, crammed with scientific instruments, and a crew of 200 souls, it pushed the boundaries of known space. Captain Eva Rostova, a woman whose calm gaze had seen the birth of new stars and the eerie silence of dead ones, stood on the bridge. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back severely, her eyes fixed on the swirling nebula ahead, a place marked on no star chart. "Anything, Mr. Davies?" she asked, her voice even. Young communications officer Ben Davies shook his head, his brow furrowed. "Still nothing, Captain. No known signatures, no beacons, just that." He gestured to the main view screen, where an anomaly shimmered. It wasn't a star, nor a planet. It was a distortion, a place where spacetime itself seemed thinned. Dr. Jian Li, the ship's chief astrophysicist and xenolinguist, leaned forward, his eyes alight with an almost feverish curiosity. "Fascinating. The gravimetric readings are off the charts, but not in a chaotic way. It's structured, almost artificial." Odyssey edged closer, its sensors probing the anomaly. As they breached the outer perimeter of the distortion, reality flickered. For a moment, the bridge crew saw impossible geometries, colors that had no name. Then it resolved. Before them hung a structure, if it could be called that. It was less a physical object and more a knot in the fabric of the universe, a vast, crystalline lattice that pulsed with a faint, internal light, old beyond imagining. It was silent, dark in places, clearly derelict. "By all the stars," Captain Rostova breathed. "Jian, what are we looking at?" I don't know, Captain," Jian stammered, his usual eloquence failing him. "It's a way station. That's the only term that comes to mind. Something built not in space, but of space." A faint, rhythmic energy pulse emanated from the structure, too weak to be a warning, more like a failing heartbeat. Chief Engineer Marcus, Mac O'Connell, a burly man with grease permanently etched into his laugh lines, reported from engineering. "Captain, I'm picking up some wild energy fluctuations from that thing. Subspace interference is going haywire. Whatever it is, it's not stable." Against her better judgment, but fueled by the explorer's imperative, Rostova ordered a closer approach. A small science drone was dispatched. Its cameras relayed images of intricate, non-Euclidean architecture, vast empty chambers, and energy conduits that glowed with residual power. Then, without warning, a section of the way station flickered violently, reality itself seeming to tear and reknit around it. The drone went dead. "Localized spacetime rupture," Jian said, his voice tight. "It's decaying, and the decay process is energetic, very energetic." He began running simulations, his fingers flying across his console. The results made his blood run cold. "Captain, if this way station collapses, the cascade effect, it won't just destroy this system. It'll unravel spacetime across several parsecs. Dozens of inhabited worlds, including New Alexandria." New Alexandria was the most populous human colony in this sector. A profound silence fell on the bridge. Dozens of worlds, billions of lives. "Can we stop it?" Rostova asked, her voice a low command. Mac's voice came over the comms, strained. "From what Giant's sending me, this thing is beyond anything we've ever encountered. It's like trying to patch a hole in a hurricane with tape. We don't have the tools, the understanding." Suddenly, new energy signatures blossomed around the Odyssey, not from the way station, but from outside. Bright, shimmering forms coalesced from the void, the Shilzari. They were beings of light and energy, their forms shifting and ethereal, radiating an aura of immense age and power. Their arrival was silent, majestic, and utterly overwhelming. A voice, not sound but pure thought, echoed in the minds of every human on the Odyssey. It was calm, ancient, and held a hint of something akin to weary patience. Ephemeral matter constructs. You are trespassing in a place of great power and greater danger. Your presence is unexpected. Captain Rostova stood tall. This is Captain Eva Rostova of the United Earth ship Odyssey. We are explorers. We detected this way station and its instability. We believe it poses a catastrophic threat. The Shilzari designated Coordinator Prime, a particularly luminous and complex waveform, focused its attention. The great filter of Cathar is indeed failing. Its energies are unraveling. We were alerted. We are here to observe its final passing and ensure the unraveling is contained to an acceptable parameter. Acceptable, Giant exclaimed, his thought voice tinged with disbelief. Our calculations show it will destroy multiple inhabited systems. A wave of what felt like amusement, or perhaps mild condescension, emanated from the Shilzari. Your calculations, little Spock. This filter has regulated cosmic energies for eons beyond your species' entire existence. Its processes are not for your fleeting minds to grasp. With respect, Rostova projected, keeping her mental tone firm, our minds grasp that billions of lives are at stake. Lives that value their existence, however fleeting you may find them. The way station pulsed again, more violently this time. Cracks of pure, chaotic energy webbed across its surface. The Shilzari forms shimmered, a flicker of concern now evident. The decay is accelerating beyond projections. The unraveling will be more extensive than anticipated. Can you stop it? Rostova pressed. Stabilizing such a nexus requires immense temporal energy redirection, Coordinator Prime communicated. A process requiring time and precise, intricate manipulation of its core matrix. Physical interface is problematic for our kind in such unstable fields. Giant had been working furiously, cross-referencing the way station's energy patterns with known theoretical physics. He suddenly gasped. Captain, there's a control node, deep inside. According to the energy flows, it looks like a manual override system, a failsafe. If it could be reached, if the energy flows could be rerouted internally, it might not stop the collapse, but it could dampen it, confine the rupture to this system alone. Mac, listening in, chimed in. A manual override on that thing. It'd be like trying to rewire a collapsing sun from the inside. The radiation, the space-time stresses. No ship could survive it, let alone a person. The Shilzari considered. A crude interface, yes. Designed for organic, physical beings in ages past. Theoretically, it could shunt the primary cascade, but the feedback, it would incinerate any matter-based life form instantly. A heavy silence descended on the Odyssey's bridge. The implications were clear. Confine the rupture, save billions, but at the cost of whoever tried. Rostova looked at her crew. She saw fear, yes, but also a grim determination. These were humans. They'd grown up on stories of sacrifice, of people running into burning buildings, of soldiers shielding comrades. Their short lives, perhaps, made them value the lives of others all the more. Mr. O'Connell, Rostova said, her voice betraying no emotion. The Odyssey, can she make it to that core node? Mac was silent for a long moment. The shields will hold for a few minutes maybe, long enough to get in, but not long enough to get out. And whoever is at the controls, they won't be coming back. I understand, Rostova said. She turned to her bridge crew. Volunteers. Every hand, every mental affirmation went up. Ben Davies, barely out of his teens. Dr. Jian Lee, whose mind was one of humanity's brightest. Every officer, every specialist. The Shilzari watched this exchange, their ethereal forms flickering with something unreadable. Confusion, disbelief. You would expend your brief existences. For others you do not know, for a slight deferral of the inevitable cosmic churn. Rostova faced the luminous beings, her human form small and fragile against their cosmic grandeur. We call it saving lives, coordinator. It's what we do. Our lives are short, yes. Perhaps that's why we try to make them count for something more than just ourselves. She turned to Mac. Chief O'Connell, Dr. Lee, you have the most expertise with these energy systems and navigation in distorted space. You're with me. Ben, you have the Khan. Get the Odyssey ready. Plot a course to that core node. Captain, no, Ben protested. Let me go, I'm younger. This requires experience, Mr. Davies, Rostova said gently. Your duty is to live, to remember, to tell the story. The Shilzari remained silent, observing these ephemeral beings, so obsessed with their fragile physical forms, now preparing to willingly obliterate those forms. The Odyssey, stripped of all non-essential personnel who were transferred to emergency, escape pods to be collected by the Shilzari later, became a skeletal ship. Just Rostova, Lee, and Mac remained on the bridge. The way station was visibly tearing itself apart now, streaks of anti-reality eating at its structure. Course laid in, Captain, Mac said, his voice rough. Shields at maximum. It's gonna be a rough ride. Then let's make it a meaningful one, Rostova replied. She looked at Jayan, who nodded, his face pale but resolute. The Odyssey plunged towards the dying artifact. The Shilzari watched, vast and silent. The little ship bucked and screamed as it tore through fields of chaotic energy. Alarms blared. Hull integrity warnings flashed red. Their vessel is insufficient, one of the Shilzari observed. Their physical forms are fragile. Yet they persist, Coordinator Prime replied, its luminous form strangely still. Inside the way station, the environment was a maelstrom. Reality warped. Gravity fluctuated. The internal lights of the Odyssey flickered and died, casting the bridge in the hellish, shifting glow of the way station's death throes. Almost there, Jayan yelled over the cacophony, his hands a blur over his console, trying to decipher the ancient control interface schematics they'd partially downloaded. The override. It requires 3 simultaneous inputs, physical levers. They must be held until the energy reroutes. Understood, Rostova grunted, wrestling with the helm. They reached the core chamber, a vast, cavernous space where the fabric of reality was visibly unraveling. 3 massive, crystalline levers jutted from a central console. The Odyssey shuddered violently, listing hard to port. We're not going to make it back to the ship from those levers, Mac shouted. Once we start, that's it. We knew the cost, Mac, Rostova said, her eyes finding his in the dim light. A shared look of understanding passed between them, then she looked at Jayan. For New Alexandria, for everyone. Jayan nodded, a small, sad smile on his face. It has been an honor, Captain. They didn't wear bulky environment suits. There was no point. What was coming would bypass any protection. They were just 3 humans, in their simple uniforms, facing the heart of a cosmic cataclysm. They took their positions, one at each lever. What are they doing? A lesser Shilzari entity pulsed with confusion. The feedback will be instantaneous. Annihilation. Coordinator Prime did not answer. It simply watched, its ancient consciousness focused entirely on the 3 small, fragile figures. On my mark, Rostova commanded. Her voice, though strained, was clear. 3, 2, 1 mark. Together, they threw the levers. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. A torrent of raw, unimaginable energy surged through the core, through the levers, through them. For a microsecond, Eva Rostova, Jayan Lee, and Mac O'Connell became conduits for energies that could unmake stars. They felt an instant of transcendent, all-consuming fire, a pain beyond all telling, and then nothing. Their physical forms were atomized, scattered into the raging heart of the way station. But the energy, instead of cascading outwards, was drawn inwards. The override was working. The chaotic rupture began to stabilize, the tendrils of unreality retracting. The violent tearing of spacetime slowed, then began to seal itself. The way station still died, but it died with a contained sigh, not a galaxy-rending scream. The catastrophic cascade was averted. The dozens of worlds, New Alexandria among them, were safe. The Odyssey, its bridge now an empty, silent tomb, drifted for a moment before being consumed by the final, localized implosion of the way station's core. Silence returned to the void where the ancient artifact had been. Only the Shilzari remained, their luminous forms flickering with an intensity that was new, an emotion their kind had not processed for millennia. They succeeded, a Shilzari whispered in the shared mindspace. The ephemerals, they contained it. Coordinator Prime was still. It had witnessed countless events, the birth and death of stars, the rise and fall of civilizations that lasted millions of years. But this was different. These beings, with their ridiculously short lifespans, had willingly, knowingly embraced total oblivion to save others, strangers, on distant worlds, whom they would never know. They had not done it for glory, for their names would be unknown to those they saved. They had not done it for continuance, for their individual sparks were utterly extinguished. They had done it because, in their brief estimation, it was the right thing to do. Their lives were not measured in duration, Coordinator Prime finally communicated, its thought voice resonating with a profound, newly found respect, but in value, the value they placed on others. The Shilzari looked at the empty space where the Odyssey had made its final stand. For the first time, they considered the nature of these humans not as fleeting curiosities, but as beings capable of a depth of altruism that was, in its own way, as vast and powerful as any cosmic force. Their obsession with physical matter now seemed less like a limitation and more like a grounding, a connection that allowed for such profound acts of empathy. When the escape pods of the Odyssey's crew were recovered, the Shilzari treated them not as primitives, but as representatives of a species that had demonstrated a capacity for something truly extraordinary. The story of the Odyssey and its crew was recorded in the great archives of the Shilzari, not as a footnote, but as a key historical event. A memorial was commissioned, not a physical structure, for the Shilzari had little use for such things, but a stable, resonant energy pattern at the site of the way station's demise, a pattern that sang a quiet, eternal song of sacrifice and courage. It was a song that resonated with the names: Eva Rostova, Jian Lee, Marcus O'Connell, the crew of the Odyssey. The Shilzari Federation began a formal study of human ethics, philosophy, and art, seeking to understand the wellspring of such selfless heroism. Their perception had irrevocably shifted. Humans were still short-lived, yes, but their lives, the Shilzari now understood, could burn with a light bright enough to illuminate the darkest corners of the cosmos, a light that could, in its own brief, brilliant way, outshine even the oldest stars. Humanity's new standing was not one of fear, but of deep, astonished reverence. They were the ephemerals who had taught the Immortals the true meaning of a life well lived.